and teaching practices from India. So I do my best to teach these practices in a really respectful way, and I'm always open to feedback. But basically my goal is to, or my intention is to help people feel more comfortable with their present moment experience and who they are in the present moment. And hopefully I can offer some kind of ease and sense of, I guess, grounding and connection to where you're at right now in your life and your creative process as well. So I will get started. Also, I just like to say that there's no perfect way to meditate. You do not have to be a master meditator. I'm just going to guide you with my voice. And if you get distracted, it does not matter at all. Just do your best to stay with my voice as much as possible. If the words don't resonate, you don't have to worry about that either. Just, you know, use the sound and the tone of my voice to hopefully create a feeling of relaxation, if that works for you. Okay, so I'm just going to ask that everybody get into a comfortable position if you're not already in one. So it might mean that you just take yourself down onto the floor if you want to, if that's appropriate for you right now. You can lay down or just slouch down in your chair or sit upright. It really is whatever works best for you in this moment. And then if you feel comfortable closing your eyes and you feel safe closing your eyes and it's appropriate for you to close your eyes, then do so. Otherwise, you're just going to take your gaze down to the tip of your nose or maybe down into your lap. And then if it feels okay, you're going to take a deep breath. Right, so breathing all the way in and feeling your body fill up with that breath, maybe noticing where the breath moves to in your body, to your chest, to your belly, maybe feeling your side ribs expand. So filling yourself up with your breath and then fully releasing that breath as you exhale. And as you exhale, maybe feeling a sense of softness come over your body, a release of tension perhaps. And then coming to a more natural breath. It doesn't need to be too deep, but if it feels good to breathe deeply, then do that. But with the breath now, imagine that you're breathing yourself into this moment, whatever that means to you. So as you breathe in, you're breathing to presence yourself in this very moment, acknowledging that you're here. And as you presence yourself and as you connect and focus on your breath, you might be able to quiet your mind. So quieting your mind as much as you're able to in this moment, which might not actually be very quiet at all. You might feel as though there's more productive ways that you could be spending your time right now. And you might also feel like there's things that you really need to think about right now, and that's all valid. But perhaps experiment with your curiosity and notice whether you can place those thoughts and feelings upon a cloud within your mind and let them float away and fade into the background. And if you choose, you can retrieve those thoughts and feelings from their cloud at the completion of this time that we have together. And if during this time together, anything uncomfortable or distracting re-enters your mind, know that it's okay. It's actually just a part of our human experience. But see if you can keep returning yourself to this moment, to each moment, by using your breath, Breathing yourself into the here and now, and doing this as many times as you need to. Again, breathing deeply. So filling yourself up with your breath completely, and then feeling that sense of release and softness come over your body as you exhale. And again, see if you can let your mind become still, even if just for a millisecond. Be in the liminal space and know that it's okay to be there, because your worth is not tied to your productivity. You are therefore worthy of this moment of pause. So breathe. Let your mind be still and let yourself rest. There is nothing but this moment. Breathe and let yourself be. And then we'll move our awareness over our body. So just quickly scanning from the crown of the head down to your toes, bringing awareness to your physical form and maintaining connection to your breath, presencing yourselves in the here and now. And then we'll take one more deep breath. So breathing all the way in. Opening your mouth, breathing out. And then you might just bring a little bit of movement to your body, a wriggle of the fingers and the toes, maybe rolling your shoulders or stretching. And then when you're ready, you can blink your eyes open and we will begin our session. Thank you for having me. I will see you again at the end.
Thank you so much, Sammy Jo. That was amazing. So I'm going to bring up our panelists and we will get started with the discussion. And just as a reminder, everyone make sure that your audio is on. All right. So this is everyone. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you.
All right. I can hear everyone fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to dive right on in. We're right on time. This is perfect. And for anyone watching, feel free to add any type of comments or anything like that, questions that you have along the way, because we will be able to see them, to add them, to answer them at the end. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So I guess the easiest way to do this is if I call you all out based on how I see you on the screen so that we don't get too confused. And then once we get more into the discussion, you can just hop in where you see fit. But I'm going to allow each of you to introduce yourselves and tell us about your company. What do you do? I think that you can do that a lot better than I can. So we'll start with Maya.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is Maya McClendon. I am a Louisville native, and I am the CEO and founder of Timeout, which is a mental health application for athletes and sports organizations. Started that about 2 years ago now. And I was a former volleyball player at the University of Louisville. So it's a pleasure meeting you all.
Nice. Mark?
Oh, thank you. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Coach Mark McNulty. I own Action Coach Bluegrass and Southern Indiana. Got offices in both Louisville and in New Albany. And what we do, we're business coaches, and we guide business owners through the challenges of growth. Whether you're a founder or whether you're third generation, growing a business is challenging, both mentally, physically, in all ways. And, we act as your guides and your accountability partner to get to success as you define it faster than you would on your own.
Yes. Next, I have Ruthanne.
All of these apps are different. Okay.
I know.
Okay. Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm thrilled to be here. I am Hilary's collaborator and business partner, and we focus on conscious leadership. And what that basically means is focusing on yourself so that you can be of service to others. We're passionate about it. It's part of Open Eye, which Hilary can fill you in. But I'm just thrilled. The time has come, and we need this sort of compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
My name is Hilary Osborne, and I am a co-founder of OpenEye. And what we do is we help small businesses and nonprofits grow and make changes at their point of inflection. So we create strategies with them. And because we kind of gravitate towards clients that are trying to do some sort of greater good service, I felt like it was a natural complement to what I already do in OpenEye.
Exactly. Yeah.
Becca?
Hi guys, my name is Becca Gardner, also a Kentucky native. I moved back about 1.5 years ago after being in New York for about 12 years. I am the CEO and founder of Alt Distilling. We are a non-alcoholic beverage innovation portfolio company, and we are launching our first brand of non-alcoholic spirits, Naked Lady, in January. So
Nice.
Exciting. Thank you for that. So I think that when it comes to wellness, a part of what has led us to being passionate about focusing on wellness just as much as we focus on the grind is our founder journey. How did we even get to this place in the first place? And I've had the pleasure of working with many of you in various different ways, be it through my work that I do at Amplify Louisville, or the work that I do as a founder with Elephant in the Room. So can you talk to us a little bit about your founder journey? How did you end up right where you are today? And we can start with anyone, whomever wants to start.
I'll start, actually. It was kind of accidental, to be honest. I was working with a company for 10 years and got laid off. So I really had to dig deep and figure out what I wanted to do. Started off as an independent consultant. And then my business partner and I decided to take all of our knowledge within the internet infrastructure industry to kind of try to change it in a little way. We just found that a lot of the companies that we dealt with were not operating to their potential. So, and looking to grow, but not sure how. And it was a very slow climb, but started off with one client that really believed in us, and it built from there. So here we are 5 years later. So I'm quite grateful for that.
Nice. Does anyone want to go next, or I can
I can go. So I was talking to someone earlier today, and I said I think I'm less of a founder and more of like a fighter. Like I think it's more like of a compulsion. I've always had my entire life where if there's like a problem, and I since that based on my social location or the access I have or personal experience with whatever it is, I'm in a position to maybe do something about it. It's like very hard for that not to end up becoming something incredibly important to me. And I think in the case of this, it was just my experience as a non-drinker started as just something that I was like celebrating, singing from the rooftops. And then I became quickly frustrated, that it kind of sucked because I didn't have good options. And I really thought there were a lot of opportunities to improve the way we even talk and think about, these types of choices. And to make it a safer, more inclusive environment for a lot of people that are navigating making better choices for themselves. And so, it kind of started a hobby. And then it was honestly my friends and family that were like, unless you do something about this, like you're going to drive everyone crazy. Because it was just like the only thing I could talk about and think about. And so I kind of, fell into it from just almost a place of being obsessed with the opportunity I saw there. So.
Nice. And if we see that there's a pattern, there's some form of missing wellness that has kind of led everyone thus far into their company. So let's move on to the next person, whomever wants to go next.
Sure.
I can go next. I very much relate to your personality, Becca. I'm a fighter myself. I mentioned before I was a volleyball player at the University of Louisville, and actually I finished my last year at Arizona State. And I also did not expect to be an entrepreneur or in this founder space. I actually got my degree in pre-med psychology and was on that path. Very nerdy when it comes to research. But tragically, a year after graduating, one of my former teammates died by suicide. And having my degree in psych, I was just really diving into the athlete community, asking the questions that need to be asked to very high-level athletes, and reflecting on my own journey. When I was at Louisville, I had my own mental health emergency, and just, it's not something that's talked about. Even in the past year, maybe you've heard of certain athletes kind of speaking about, the struggles that they're facing, but there's so much data behind it. And just talking about it isn't enough. Finding real evidence-based solutions and putting in a format that resonates with people is really needed. So just kind of been clawing my way through that. It's a very triggering situation, and for that to be my business is hard. But just kind of understanding if I don't do it, no one else will. But like you said, there's such a big need. So that's my journey.
Thank you for that. We have Mark and
You want me to? I'll jump in. I have helped entrepreneurs and small businesses most of my career, and it is the passion that people hold, like you were saying, almost an obsession. I have to do it. It's a calling. And when you put, and I think all of you guys know about social consciousness, and when you blend those two, it's really pretty dynamic.
So, my journey, so I'm a recovering engineer. So everybody laugh, so, I spent 20 years in corporate America, and when I got downsized, I had what I often refer to as an entrepreneurial seizure. I'm going to take this, I walked out of there with 1 year of pay and benefits, and I said, I'm going to take this 1 year and I'm going to start a business. So looked at a lot of things, spent too much of that year thinking about it. Engineers would like to think about stuff. So now I got 6 months. So I ended up buying a franchise to accelerate the process. And, the biggest challenge wasn't the business, wasn't figuring out how to be a coach. It was the mental shift, the mind shift from being an employee to owning a business. It's you have to look at every single thing in a completely new way. And that was the biggest, hurdle I had to overcome to be successful. That was 17 and a half years ago. And now I've got a team of 5, and it's been an incredible journey, just like every other founder has. It's just an amazing journey, but it was my journey, and no two journeys are alike.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that as founders, we're constantly overcoming, and that's what kind of puts us in this space in the first place, is seeing a need for something and figuring out the solution, right? So at what point as a founder did you know you needed to make a wellness change? Or did you notice that the founders you work with needed to implement some sort of wellness into their operation?
That's a great question. We've looked, Hilary, jump in. We have looked at you guys know about codependency? And I see you nodding. We have looked at the function of really gifted, well-meaning leaders whose teams are incredibly dysfunctional. But it's not because people want to be dysfunctional. We've unpacked the key challenges, one of which is okay, does everyone know what codependency is? Or yeah, I'm getting some nods, right?
We do, but feel free to give a brief explanation for those watching.
Okay, Hilary, if you don't like my presentation today, I am just going to fall apart. And so I need you to tell me how good I am, how I've aced it.
Are you referring to that you need your external validation so that you feel good about yourself?
Because, if I don't have it, I'm giving up, right? And then I'm going to take it out on other people because I feel bad about myself. What about scarcity? That's a second. Scarcity. What do you guys think of when you think of scarcity? Budgets? Staff? Resources? What is scarcity? These are the things that plague you brilliant people. And this is what we have discovered when we've done lots of research. And OpenEye has done so much research and worked with so many different clients. And last but not least, I like you, but I don't like you. I'm going to pretend I like you, but I really don't like you. I mean, I'd like to like you. How can we bridge that? How can we do enough of a deep dive that gets to why aren't people getting along? Why are teams dysfunctional? Especially in our marketplace. When you're a startup, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're passion driven. So that's what gets us going.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think the answer in terms of like a wellness change for me is right now. Because, I might not always be the smartest person in the room, but I sure as heck can outwork most people, and I think coming from the strategy consulting world before this, that was kind of like a badge of honor, to pull those weeks where I, it was bragging right, kind of to work the 80 hours, and I'm having to like go through this reset where I'm saying like, that's not a strategic advantage, that's a liability. And I say right now, because I am starting to identify new hires, like with us launching in January, we're bringing people on, and I'm like, I'm not okay with being the hypocrite in my organization, right? And so I think that there is this element of accountability because of what I want so much for other people, which kind of, when I turn that on its head, it's like, why wouldn't I also want that for myself?
Right.
And so I think real time as a founder, which is also an intense world, as was the one I was before, doing a lot of unlearning and reminding myself that I actually get to set the tone. This time, even if it's my reflex to go back to, some of these old practices. So the answer is now, and it is because I am the potential problem, and I don't want to be that this time around. So
that's great.
That is so relatable, Becca. I relate to that so hard with the trying not to burn myself out or utilizing, working all the time as a badge of honor. I
Totally.
feel you so much. Does anyone else want to comment on when you knew that you needed to implement wellness, or when you noticed that your clients need to implement wellness into their hustle?
So with Action Coach, so it's a franchise, and you go through franchisee training, and I'm an engineer, so I'm going there to learn the facts, the processes, the systems, yada yada yada. It's a 10-day boot camp, and day one was 10 hours of thinking, talking about goals and dreams and visions and affirmations and how to think. And I remember, halfway through the day, I was thinking, wrong. This is the wrong business. I'm getting out of this. This is wrong. And, of course, I'd paid for it also. I was too cheap to leave without getting my money's worth. So I stayed. But that was when I started to realize that was more important than anything else they taught me in the whole 10 days. And I didn't realize it at the time. I wish I had it. So I'm a trainer now for global franchises. And, so I teach that now, but I wish, and I tell people that my story is, don't leave here today thinking that this, without understanding how this day is probably the most important of your 10 days. And if you don't understand that, stick around. We'll stay here all night to figure that out, because that was what's most important. I wish my trainers had done that then, but, we've advanced a lot in our training and our understanding of the value of that. And then, so that was where I learned it personally, was just, and I've learned it again and again and again, and becoming a trainer of that thinking has helped me. And then, when we start coaching, the two things we start on first are some mastery skills, and the two are self-mastery and destination mastery. Because if you don't have those, all the other stuff you do isn't going to matter. It isn't going to stick. It's not going to be fulfilling, and you can't build a team off it. You can't go anywhere without it.
I think that's awesome that you're saying that. I can kind of give my perspective as well, because I really resonate with that self-mastery. And to answer your question, I go through a wellness check every single day. I mean, when you're at an early stage company, there's so much unpredictability and so many variables that are without, inside and out of your control, that it's hard to stay even keeled. And I really break down, who I am and what I'm doing into 3 different personas. There's me as a leader, there's me as a boss, which are 2 different things, and then me as as my person. And that self-mastery, I kind of get that from sports as well, which is that self-awareness and understanding, what my trigger warnings are, what my kind of signs that I need to take a step back within my personal life, which ultimately can affect my business life, but also having those same conversations with myself as a leader and as a boss. And I've just had to do this thing where I'm skilled as a leader, but when do I have to kind of understand that destination mastery that you're talking about, which is like, what's the best thing for my company versus what's the best thing for my team versus the best thing for myself. So taking the time to be self-disciplined and understand what works for me, what works for, those different personas, so that I can be as consistent within my own control, because this is a really hard job. There are so few things that we can control, even though we're balancing so many different plates. Having those wellness checks every single day, I think, is a practice that I've had to learn. Still working on it, but that's kind of my.
Yes, absolutely. Hilary, before we move on, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yes, just to echo off of the sort of leading by example thing, to model certain behavior. When we started OpenEye, one of the biggest things was to really demonstrate rest. And as the 4 business partners of the company, we actively do close the office for holidays, make it known. obviously, if you're, a consultant, that's your money. If you feel like working, absolutely. And we're not telling you to do so or not, but just even sending that email out, letting everybody know that we're going to be offline, in hopes that maybe people also take that lead and take that time to really just relax, unwind. And also just knowing that they're not going to be bombarded by emails or calls from us, that there's, some freedom in that space from work.
I love that. I think that's so important to allow your teams to take that time to rest. Also, hard stops are just as important as hard work. Um, so with that being said, there are different variations of what wellness can look like. What does wellness mean or look like to you? So I don't mind starting. So
Go for it.
for me as a founder, and I think it looks different professionally and personally for me. But the two can definitely go hand in hand. But for me as a founder, I think that, and we're going to get into a question later on that I selfishly put in, so I can get some advice from you all, the experts. But one thing that wellness looks like for me is time management, because having good time management allows me as a founder to be able to efficiently work on my business. And right now, as a new founder in my business, without, to Becca's point, spending my entire day, all day, every day, just working, but better using my time so that I have a little bit of balance there. And I'm not experiencing burnout so quickly. So that's one way that wellness looks for me as a founder. So for you all as founders, what does wellness look like for you? Because I'm sure it looks different for all of us. And because there's different levels of what wellness can be, it'll be the perfect example of what wellness can be for others.
I'll go first. So the way I define wellness, and this kind of goes for those three personas I kind of mentioned. First and foremost is vulnerability. I think shows that you are in a state of wellness because you have, I guess, the self-stability to be open and be able to ask for help. I think that's just understanding that you can express where you are, shows that you have the ability to, continue to achieve stability. And the second way is really resilience. I think a way that would demonstrate fun wellness is if it takes longer to bounce back, right? Like if you don't have the tools to be able to get yourself out of a slump, I think that is the definition of fun wellness. So that resilience and being able to say, okay, I'm strong. I stumble sometimes, but I can get back up. That shows wellness. So I think that's how I would define it.
Kiona, I love how you said wellness, one size doesn't fit all. I think that's so true. I may love meditation and someone else is like, what is that? I need to go to the treadmill.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay. One of the things I want to take out of like wellness is the should. You should do this. You should take a break. You should be organized because, like I said, and I love what you said about self-awareness. That is so key. It's like, what do I really need here? What do I need? And it's not a prescription.
Right.
And what we do is, and Hilary, this is open eye kudos. You're creating a culture of self-care, right? You are leading by example. And when the owners, when the leaders, when the top management, it basically gives everyone else permission as well as emulation.
I love that, taking the should out of it. It's what do you need in the moment.
A lot of wellness right now is about should. It's we have an easy solution, right? Meditate for 21 days, and all of a sudden, no more stress, no more overwork, and that's really it's listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Our business is emotional wellness.
Mm-hmm.
That's our business. That's what we consult.
I love that, sharing, just looking inward and asking what you need. And I think, through that kind of defining wellness for yourself, like I know that, for me, wellness really is like a few things. Like I know that I have to incorporate opportunities where I'm laughing and being silly. I know that I have to incorporate time to be creative, whether that's making art or writing. And then, I know, like for me, the wellness of my relationships play an incredible role in my own ability to care for myself. It's like so funny. I one of my good friends in New York, like she texted me last night and she was like, "This is the Fitbit you don't have telling you to go to sleep." And I was like, I think creating like surrounding yourself with people who love you and are invested in you beyond just like your productivity, but like in your genuine happiness is, it's a little bit of a stopgap because I feel like sometimes those folks are helping me stay accountable to things that are hard for me to do on my own. But I'm like, it really provides, tremendous support. And so I think kind of parsing out that wellness for myself has really helped me find the specific ways to address the different components.
Mm-hmm.
For me, wellness is, I feel wellness when for me, I call it, I'm at peace with myself and with the way things are going. And there are, going back to like the shoulds, all the shoulds, those are tools in a toolbox. And so, over my life, I've learned lots of tools that I can, and I know how some of them work with and not, and I can pick and choose the tools I use to help to feel at peace, whether it's meditation, whether it's going to see my therapist, whether it's sitting in a hot tub, whether it's going golfing, whether it's working till 2 a.m, because the only way I'm going to feel at peace is if I just finish this, and then I can be at peace, and then I prioritize, and it's all about, so that, there's lots of different things and tools I have, and I think we all just need multiple tools in our toolbox that we can use to feel that way, whatever that feeling well or feeling at peace, whatever word we want to use to describe it or emotion that we feel. We need to learn tools, because there's not any one tool that will solve every scenario. And we need multiple tools and multiple sets of resources in our lives to be able to deal with the different situations that come up. And as founders, we're dealing with stuff that we can't always anticipate, right? Because it's new. We're doing something that's not been done before, maybe by anybody, but certainly not by us. And so it's learning that.
I love that you brought up, sometimes working until 2 a.m. as a form of wellness, because that is so true. Sometimes work is the best form of wellness, because I know for myself, there's been times where, I know that I'm starting to reach a burnout and I really want to take 5 days off in a row. But my way of practicing wellness is right before I'm getting ready to take that time off, working 16 hours, so that when I am off, I know that I have completed everything. I'm not stressed out. I don't feel the urge to want to work. I don't feel the urge to want to get things done because I let something fall by the wayside. I was able to knock out what I needed to knock out, so that when I hit my stopping point, I can literally stop. And that goes for physically and mentally. So I love that you brought that up, because I don't think that many people look at that as a form of wellness, and it can be.
It can be.
Mhm.
And guess what you did? What did you do by setting that, if you will, that line of work and time off? What would you call that?
I would call it a boundary.
Yay! Yeah, boundaries are between people. Boundaries are between work and me time.
Yeah, oftentimes we set boundaries with everyone else, but we don't set them with ourselves, and I think that that's where we fail.
And we don't set them with work, especially entrepreneurs.
I was going to say, to the point of, if you know you're taking a vacation, for example, and you know you will only truly feel relaxed if you finish all of your work, I feel like the first step is that inner awareness of yourself and what you need to do in order to actually be able to have peace in your life or be able to relax. And then the second part of that is, once you are so aware of your inner world, if you're starting to notice that it's kind of slipping, or you're feeling like anxious or overworked or stressed out, is to actually take a break, and however that looks like, to get back to that inner world, so that you've kind of hit a reset button and continue on with whatever it is you're doing.
Exactly.
So I want to take a little bit of a pivot and talk about mental health. So as founders of a certain stage, there comes a point where you have to seek funding, whatever, in various ways, right? In order for us to grow and scale. There's no getting around that part. And sometimes part of getting funding is pitching. And when you pitch, you are constantly receiving feedback about something that is very personal to you, right? Because most of us, our companies they're our babies. They're the things that we nourish, we want to grow, we want to watch succeed. They were typically birthed out of a little piece of us that needed to be fulfilled. And receiving feedback on that constantly can be hard, even though it's there to help us. It can be hard. So for founders who are in that specific stage, how would you suggest that they take care of their mental health amidst being immersed in that sort of world for a season?
I can start for this one. This is something that I've really struggled with in the past, and I'm sure all of you have heard this in some way or another, but they'll say to not take it personally, which is obviously super hard because it is your company and it means the world to you. But what I think happens is you tend to kind of tie yourself into your company, and it's so hard not to, instead of thinking of it as a mixed match between the funder and what your services or product is, or what it is your company does. Because if you don't look at it that way, it's kind of you're almost turning it inward and taking it very personally, questioning, if I'm doing something right or wrong, can stir up a whole bunch of things like worthiness or imposter syndrome. And so to try to peel yourself away from that, I think if you're able to do that, it takes the sting away. And obviously that takes lots of practice, because, not criticism, but, maybe questionable feedback kind of stings sometimes.
Oh man, I certainly have some thoughts on this one. I feel like maybe we talked about it over coffee once, but I think what I'm saying now after going through the fundraising process is probably a little bit different than what I would have said before. So I want to say that this is also informed by a lot of trial and error. But, I think that there's a couple things. One thing that really helped me was to get a lot of different perspectives from different folks, but not asking them to tell me like if they thought this was a good idea or not, so that I could really educate myself thoroughly on what I was doing, which is unique, because I think what is easy to do is to get in the process of taking everyone's opinion seriously. And the reality is, like, it's their opinion, which is based on their own personal experience. And so, if I'm having a tech investor who's made a lot of success for themselves, starting multiple apps, for example, and I'm going in front of them and they might be having comments on like my margins or, you know, what my kind of target exit is, et cetera, if I take that feedback as like, you know, the Bible and go and incorporate it into my business model, I could be doing myself a huge disservice. And so what I've really found myself doing is kind of categorizing the people that I actually, you know, take their advice more seriously. So, you know, the folks that I go to for creative and the folks that I go to for kind of like the financial input. And because otherwise what you're going to do is like water down your vision by trying to appeal to everything. And that takes away what really, I think, distinguishes each individual. You know, and it's hard to do, but I think that, you know, just because someone doesn't invest in you doesn't mean you're wrong. It might mean that you should keep doing exactly what you're doing, and it's just not for them. And I think that having kind of that shift in awareness has really helped me, because it allows me to take it less personally, you know, because I've kind of gotten to this point where it's like, it doesn't really feel like it's about me. It really feels about like what I'm trying to accomplish. And if this is input that I think might help support accomplishing that. But I think this detachment, the emotional kind of detachment from some of these things has only happened after I've spent a lot of time crying, you know, when I didn't get the input I wanted. So I'm going to just be real with you on that.
What was the turning point that allowed you to detach? Was it just experience or?
I'll tell you, and this is why I think we all can play a big role in people's experiences. So I pitched at this thing, and you know, it was like a 5-minute pitch, and it was over the summer, and you know, the speaker of the event actually pulled me aside afterwards and was like, "Hey, I'd love to like talk more." And you know, in my entrepreneurial mind, I'm like, "Oh my God, he's going to tell me I did horrible and tell me all these things I can do better." And you know, I got on the phone with this guy, and he was like, I think you have a big problem. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he was like, I don't think you know how great you are. And he was like, and I think that's what's standing in your way. And just the effect that this one person who I'd never met, hearing that, you know, that really planted a seed for me, being like, you know what, I've been living in this delusion for the last year that I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I don't have money because I'm not capable. And it's just not that, you know, it was more of a reflection of my learning process, me refining the scope of what I wanted to do. So I sure, you know, it's like had answers to the questions that would be posed, but like, just because people, you know, I think in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of people that like to give opinions and a lot of people who consider themselves experts. And I think people are really generous with their opinions, whether or not they're solicited. And a lot of times that just means people have had exposure to more information than you know, and a lot of it's not rocket science. And so to all the entrepreneurs out there just getting started, I just like, I want you to know that there's a lot that you will learn, and you'll just learn it. You know, it's not like there's some mystery to be discovered. And if anything, I think it's more of a function of just like persistence to honing in closer on what it is specifically you're doing. But into everyone out there who has the opportunity to tell someone they're great today, like I think that can make a big difference for people.
That's very cool.
I feel like I might be that young entrepreneur that you're speaking to.
Great. So no.
Experience. And I think, you know, because I am used to receiving a lot of constructive criticism all the time, I kind of already have that attachment at baseline, but this is new territory for me, right? Like this is also like my livelihood and a new version of myself. And I think the whole notion of reframing everything into like yet, like no matter what they say, it's like I just haven't done it yet. Not like I'm failed. Like this is the end. I really, you know, that the whole, you know, don't use should statements, like there's no should. And you know, everyone giving me advice is older than me typically and has X more years of experience than me. But what I'm realizing as I'm overcoming my imposter syndrome is no one really knows what they're doing at the end of the day. It's just about critically thinking, being quick on it, and being resilient. And so, you know, taking that feedback, saying thank you, and just saying I'm not there yet. and pivoting and knowing when to trust myself versus, oh, this person said this because this is their lens. So that's kind of where I am right now as well. And therapy helped. I think I've found
Oh, good.
therapy.
Everyone should be in therapy. It's yeah. Just one. Sorry, then I'll shut up. But like one other comment on that, I've realized is like, I think that what can feel like imposter syndrome or naivety might actually be a strategic advantage for a lot of us that are just getting started, right? So if you're getting advice from someone who's been doing something for like 20 or 30 years, like the world looks a little bit different now, So in the spirits industry, which I think in a lot of ways is a bit more archaic, like, I've realized that also asking a lot of questions can be helpful, because if somebody's like, this is how it should be, and you're like, why? And then you might get to a point where the answer is just because it's always been done that way. And that doesn't feel like a sufficient justification for me, especially when what we're all on this call wanting to do sounds like bringing about change. And so I would just say the unfamiliarity with the way things have done, I think, is also a strength, which is a complete flip on the head, I think, of what we can feel as an insecurity. So just be like, I don't know, because I'm so awesome. No, that's not what you would tell anybody, but.
Yeah, and I think, it's maybe my generation as well, just the fight back of like, I don't really care how it's been done. The world looks so much different, and it's moving at a different pace. And really, I have a friend who is a producer in LA, and she's very young as well, just kind of saying, you are journey because you have this, no one else is in your position. You're a blueprint, like you've never been done before. So you are the perfect person to be doing exactly what you're doing right now. So even if you fall and make a mistake, like that's the lesson that you had to learn, right? Like that's how I'm always kind of thinking about it is, failure is essential. So.
And Maya, what you said too about trusting yourself, that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
Just to make sure, that you're in touch with that. But, even if a funder is approaching you, and it could be all the money in the world, but if something's not feeling right, I feel like sometimes people bypass that feeling, think that, oh, they're crazy. Like, I'm crazy. I shouldn't do that. I should just take that opportunity. But to be analytical in how that partnership would look like, I feel like that's really important too. And that goes back to trusting yourself.
Yeah, and guys, just to validate all this, remember we said we looked at 3 major problems that entrepreneurs face. Scarcity. Scarcity is, I'm not enough, right? I don't have the right pitch. I don't have the right product. And this is what we challenge. Trust being obviously huge.
2 quick thoughts, going back to what Becca said, it's just feedback. It's not fact. It's opinion. It's feedback. Take it for what it is. Take the part out of it that you find valuable, ignore the rest. And the other thing I'll say is it is emotional. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let it out. It's okay. It's an emotional process. And bottling up your emotions or pretending, I'm a guy. Guys aren't supposed to cry. I've cried more than in the last 17 years than most people have done in 50 years. So it's okay. It's normal. It's just part of the process to feel these emotions, and we have to let them out. It's okay to feel and experience an emotion. So don't think that there's something wrong with you if a rejection or just feedback makes you feel that. That's okay. Feel it, own it, and then let it process it, and then go get them.
I have another thought on this as well. I don't know. I'd love to hear everyone's kind of response to this as well. I think the whole notion of like expectations, that plays a huge role in mental health in general. And I know when you set up these meetings, you may be relying on some of these to come through. But advice I give is don't have huge expectations that will crumble you if it doesn't go the way you want. But so that's a luxury sometimes when there is that scarcity of funds. So I think like managing your expectations versus critical things that need to get done, that's tough. And I think that's where maybe that breakdown in emotional and mental health comes, where I really needed that. That's when the blank comes in. So I know that's a huge theme that I'm managing right now as well.
Mhm. Mhm. And
I love what you're saying about that, because what it's bringing forward is find a team you can trust, you can seek help from, that you can get the support. Find your people. Just like that guy from Out of the Blue said, you don't know how great you are. I mean, it changed your whole outlook. What a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
So
And
if we can be intentional about cultivating that group of support.
Yeah. And while I think like mentors are essential, to have one or two people that you can use to check yourself, especially with the tough feedback. I think, the spontaneous affirmations that we all have the opportunity to provide sometimes, I think are the ones that get us the deepest.
I will tell you right now, if I didn't have Hilary, I would be walking in circles and bumping into the wall as I go, right? It's just, there's that creative support, emotional support, vulnerability, all that good stuff. And I sense that in this group. I sense people really want to be there for each other.
yes, this good job, y'all. This was awesome. This was such good information for people to have, because it's hard to manage when you constantly have positive and negative things coming at you. And I love the point that you made up, Maya. It's one of my favorite points, is remembering that in the world of entrepreneurship, unless you are going from like passing down the family business, none of us know what we're doing. I like to call it Entrepreneurship University. You have no clue what you're doing until you get there, and you just kind of figure it out along the way. And all of us were there at some point, even people who are where we want to be were once where we are not knowing. And it's probably my biggest bit of advice to people who come to me and say, "Oh, I don't want to start because I don't know X, Y, and Z." I'm like, you're never going to know it unless you do it. I mean, I think that it's why we say we birthed a business, and it's like our baby, because it's kind of like becoming a parent. Most parents have no idea what they're doing until they have their kid. And it's like, we're just going to figure this out together. And it's the same way with entrepreneurship. So I love that you brought that up. You all, I hope that people are able to take all of that information and apply it as they go on that journey of growth. So thank you for that. So as we near the end, my next question for you is, and this might be the last one, just depending on how conversation flows, but when it comes to wellness, most people think of it in a traditional sense, right? I rest, I take a nap, I take time off, I go get a massage, I go on vacation, all of those traditional senses, right? But as founders, if we're being realistic, it is great to have that bit of information and to be mindful of that. But a lot of us, especially in the early stage or growth stage, where we don't have the luxury of just working on our businesses yet, we are working in them and on them. Some of those things aren't always things that we can do at that moment, right? So, what are some ways that founders can incorporate wellness literally into their daily routines, their daily work days, as they are within the hustle and bustle? What are some ways that founders can implement wellness into that?
I have some thoughts on that one. I would say the first thing would be to be proactive about not getting yourself to the point of burnout. So that could look like, in the very start of your day, taking 15 minutes before you start answering emails, phone calls, all of that, to really prioritize what it is that you really need to get done that day. So that way you have a list, you can really focus on that. If there's things that are coming at you that you could definitely delegate, freely do that. One of my favorite things to do is, like, I might not be able to do a workout at the gym after work. I could be super tired or just have too much work to do. If you are able to have a meeting with somebody, take a walk and have the meeting. Something simple, just getting up, moving your body, nothing crazy. And another thing is, even just, I know as cliche as it sounds, deep breathing exercises just at your desk. If you had a super stressful meeting, or, you're just feeling overwhelmed, taking 2 minutes just to do some deep breathing actually really does help a lot.
So I call those pattern breaks. And
I like that.
schedule pattern breaks into your day. If you've got 8 hours of Zoom meetings, between meetings, get up and walk around, stretch, do something to break the pattern physically. A physical change will make a big difference. The other thing to do is, and Becca mentioned prioritizing. My number one advice for anybody starting founding is, or even been running it for a long time, get really good at prioritizing. Go back to the vacation example. The week before vacation, we are magically incredibly productive the week before we leave on vacation. And the reason is because we have a short-term goal that is really important to us. And so we prioritize the heck out of things. And the stuff that's not important and urgent, we just let it go. Founders need to do that. Everybody needs to do that every day of your life, not just the week before you're going on vacation. We're in a day and age where we will never get all the work done. We will never get caught up. If you're in a business and you get caught up, there's probably something really bad about to happen to your business, because you've run out of things to do. That's a bad thing. So that's part of the self-mastery, is learning how to prioritize. And it's not about getting everything done. It's about getting the right things done. And when you do that, and you just let the rest go, and just let it be okay that you're not going to get to everything, because you're not. Learn how to prioritize so that you do the right things at the right time, and everything else gets easier.
I love all of those. I think two things that in addition, that I've been thinking about a lot lately. One is like, it's okay if it feels crazy right now and you literally feel like you're flying by the seat of your pants. Because I think part of the reality is like, there's just a ramp up, and you go from almost just like begging and pleading and trying to appeal to people to believe in your dream and vision. And then you're doing it, then you're actually doing it and building it. And like, I think there's this phase, which I very much feel like I'm in, where I'm like, wow, my systems and structures from before need to be checked, and so I'm almost doing like a current state analysis of my world to be like, where are there opportunities for efficiencies, where there are opportunities to maybe delegate some things that I historically have felt like needed to be something I did. And it's fair to assume that like, a year and a half ago, I was like in my parents' basement watching Tiger King. Like, there's more on my plate today, So I think the other thing is also just a reminder that I honestly tell myself every freaking day is like, my timeline is my own. And my timeline is my own. My timeline is my own, because I think that there is just a lot of folks can make you feel that like you have to do this as fast as possible, get a product out, do it as fast as possible, get clients as fast as possible. But like, you don't hear of these companies, these iconic brands that are like, well, did you hear they started it in only 6 months? Like, people are talking about the longevity, the quality, the impact, right? And so I think if you're feeling pressure that you got to pull this off in 6 months, but like, there's not a real great reason. I mean, I think personal financial timeline, there are things to be considered for sure, but like, don't rush it just to rush it. If you don't have to rush it, like, don't. Because then it's easier, I think, to incorporate some of these other things we've been talking about on this.
That's a great point. I would jump in and piggyback and become really good at recognizing burnout. Like, really attuned. Am I feeling stressed? Am I impatient? Am I detached? Am I distracted? Is it unrelenting stress? Because burnout undermines wellness, and it also undermines your success. So on that note, don't throw yourself under the bus.
Yeah, I would say routine. Like with something that's so unpredictable, consistency is like something that, at least for me personally, I hold on to very dearly. And not just having a routine that you are disciplined with doing, but also giving yourself permission to break it. Right? I think there are some times where I'm so like I have to do this, and I have to be really strict on this at 8 a.m. all the way through the day. And sometimes I need my escape, like a healthy escape that I know will help me feel better. And I think it goes into that emotional regulation and that internal motivation of like, for me, I know what's going to make me laugh. I know what's going to make me breathe. I know what's going to make me, act silly where nothing matters, and putting that into my routine and saying, okay, this is the time where I'm going to go on a walk and do whatever, or I'm just going to dance, or watch Sex in the City for an hour in the middle of the day, which is totally fine. But yeah, I think just kind of giving yourself, or for me, giving myself that consistency where I can rely on something that I built for myself, and then giving myself permission to break it and just feel the things that I know I can feel to make myself feel better.
Yes. Yes, this was awesome. Thank you so much to all of you all for all of your expertise and just an authentic conversation, because we all know that this journey is hard. But as long as you have community there to back you up and support you, you'll be just fine. So thank you all so much for that. Make sure that if you're in the audience, you are connecting with all of these awesome people on LinkedIn and wherever else they live. And to close things out, we are going to bring Sammy Joe back up to guide us in an exit meditation.
All right. Hi again, everybody. All right, so let's get comfortable again after that really great discussion. So getting comfortable in your seat, or maybe finding your way onto the floor again. And then once more, if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, do so. If not, just soften your gaze. And then we'll just take a moment to kind of feel into our body. So just observing the way that our bodies, our physical bodies, feel in this moment. So it might be helpful to scan from the crown of your head down to your toes, just observing how each part of you feels. If there's tension present, maybe breathing into those parts of ourselves and seeing if we can release that tension. Seeing if we can create a feeling of relaxation once again. And if not, please don't worry about it. We're just going to do our best. And that's all we ever have to do. And then once you've scanned your body, bringing your awareness to your breath once again. So noticing as you breathe in and noticing as you breathe out. And taking a moment to begin the integration process. So all of this wonderful information that you've just absorbed, letting it really sink in. And creating an openness that allows you to integrate what you've just received into your lives, into whatever it is that you're creating at the moment. And then acknowledging also that you're worthy of the breaks that you need, you're worthy of the care that you need. You're worthy of whatever it is that you need to keep going. And so if it feels okay for you to do so now, maybe taking your hands over your heart, one on top of the other, just resting your hands at your heart space or your chest, maybe breathing into your hands. And if it makes sense, dropping your awareness down into your heart. So connecting with the gentleness there, the compassion at your heart. And then silently reminding yourself that you're doing the best that you can. Again, silently saying to yourself, reminding yourself, I am doing the best that I can. And if there's an intention that you'd like to set for yourself for the rest of your day, for the beginning maybe of a new way of being, and then go ahead and set that intention now. And then to finish, we'll take 3 breaths. Just trying to breathe into our heart space as we do so. So 3 deep breaths together. We'll breathe in. And then open your mouth, breathe out slowly. Again, breathe in. Breathe out slowly. And then last time, breathe in. And open your mouth, maybe make a little bit of sound as you exhale this time, as though it's a nice big sigh, a nice big release. Good, and just thanking yourselves for showing up, thanking the presenters and the panelists, and thanking Amplify Louisville. And then when you're ready, blinking your eyes open, maybe bringing some movement back into your body and continuing on with your day. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much for that, Sammy Jo. That was awesome. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to all of our panelists for participating. For more events like this, you can find them all at amplifylouisville.com. Follow us on Instagram at Amplify Louisville, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you.